was a really good video. I said I was going to do a second part on basically the Lisa Dorian case. Let's get straight into this, people. What happened to Lisa Dorian? This is by Rachel Shannon True Crime, so do go and subscribe to her. She's been going a while.
Time that she went missing, Lisa was 25 years old and working as a shop assistant. A little while, about 6 weeks before she went missing, she had split up with her boyfriend, Jimmy Mills. After this, her family said she kind of started to act a little bit strange. They had said that she had started to make friends in a new area. Her ex-boyfriend said that while they were dating, they had pretty much spent every single day together. She hadn't been into any sort of, drug or alcohol or, drinking activities. But after they broke up, she had just been spending so much time with these new people in Ballyhalbert. I am sorry if I'm saying these names wrong again. It's Northern Ireland. I'm from America, so I might be pronouncing them wrong. But either way, these friends seem to be a very bad influence on Lisa, and were involved in all sorts of drug use, drinking, and partying. With her naturally outgoing and adventurous personality, this seemed like a very bad mix for Lisa. So on the evening of February 27th, 2005, Lisa had been partying in a home of a woman named Naomi Drysdale. Later that night, into the morning of February 28th, Lisa went over to a different party in a Ballyhart caravan park. Now, this is a popular site for vacationers and partygoers during the summer months. However, since it was still pretty early spring, the area was pretty much deserted because it was still pretty cold out. This party did involve a lot of drugs and drinking, and Lisa and several of her friends were partying in a caravan on site, and one of these people that were at the party with her was a man named Mark Levette, who was the park's groundsman at the time. We don't know a lot about what happened at that party, but what we do know is that after going to this party, no one has seen or heard from Lisa Dorian ever again. When Lisa didn't return from the party right away, Lisa's family wasn't too concerned at first. Obviously, at this time, we know that she did like to party, and being involved in that lifestyle means that you don't always come home exactly when you say you are going to or when you're expected to. However, when another day passed without seeing or hearing from Lisa, the family started growing more and more worried. Lisa's father said that not being in contact with her family was completely out of character for Lisa. They would always be in contact at least every few days, so when the days had passed and they still had never been in contact with each other, they reported her missing. So of course, the first thing that police did was interview the people at the party, but as you can imagine, everyone at the party was under the influence, so anything they said really was not reliable. However, there was one individual involved with the party who was sober and had information about that night, who was able to help police come up with a timeline of the night. So this witness said that Lisa and Mark Levette, the man that I mentioned earlier, had been hallucinating that night at the party. So I don't know if Lisa and Mark had left the party at this point, but I will assume that they had, since this...
It's obviously, if an eyewitness has said, look, they were technically on drugs, surely Mark, this guy Mark, would know a lot more in what happened to her. That doesn't make sense. Did they go back somewhere? Because like I said, his name had been mentioned a few times. Surely he would have given a witness statement to the police, or as a suspect at one stage, surely.
This witness said that he called Mark at around 1:15 a.m. that night to check and see if the two of them were okay. He said that Mark had pretty much just rambled incoherently on the phone about how he was seeing things before he just hung up on him. So then police went ahead and talked to Mark Levette. He told them that around 5:45 a.m., him and Lisa ran out of the caravan after seeing flashing lights and hearing sounds that made them paranoid. He said that they had pretty much just ran into the darkness until the two went their separate ways and they completely lost each other. He said that he tried calling her cell phone after the two had lost each other, but she didn't answer. So according to Lisa's ex-boyfriend, Mark had called him at around 5 a.m. that same day to see if he knew where Lisa was. And of course he didn't. So using this and other, cell phone information, police believe that is actually at this point, 5 a.m. at the phone call, that they believe that Lisa had already been dead. They said that they believed that Lisa was alive between 10 and 10:30 p.m. and that something happened between 10:30 and 1:15 a.m. that caused Lisa's death. Then, between 1:15 a.m. and 4:45 a.m., something was done to her body before Mark went ahead and called the ex-boyfriend. So, the police went ahead and searched the caravan where she had been last seen for her belongings, and they had seen her handbag and other personal belongings that were left there. They did a forensic examination on the caravan as well, but they found that there was no blood anywhere inside. But at this point, police really had no idea where she was or what could have happened to her, because the state that everyone was in, the information that they did have wasn't totally reliable. So by March 6th, the family went to the media to ask if anyone knows anything about what could have happened. At this point, they were just hoping that she was still just missing and was out there somewhere and that she was okay. They made a plea.
Someone knows something. This Mark guy 100% knows a lot more than what he's saying. And how could he keep that to himself? Do you know what I mean? If he wasn't a part of it, he knows what happened to her 100%.
To her and basically said that if she sees anything with the police and the media, that it doesn't matter, that they just want her to come home. Of course, police had searched the caravan and the area around it to see if there was any sign of Lisa, but when weeks had passed and still nothing came up, they beefed up their searches big time. They did an extensive air and land searches along the Arts Peninsula. They sent in divers to do underwater searches. Her family and friends had stepped in to help search the grounds around the area. Police started stopping traffic in Ballyhart at around 5 a.m. that Monday, exactly 1 week after she disappeared, to ask around and see if they could jog anyone's memory if they possibly saw something. Now, up to...
Sometimes, at the end of the day, I know the police are busy and they've got jobs to do, but sometimes I think they should have acted quickly and search that place as soon as they could. It just doesn't make sense sometimes how they wait, and a lot of the people sometimes who were involved in crimes like this move on or get out the area as soon as possible. Very, very strange case, but like I said, it's cases like this, I always think it's to do with the last people that actually saw her alive.
At this point, they had been, assuming that she may have been murdered, but they obviously were more investigating it as a missing persons case. But by March 15th, 2005, they switched the investigation over to a murder investigation. Now, at this point, there was graffiti that had suggested that the Loyalist Volunteer Force was linked to her murder. So I had no idea what this was when I first looked into it, so I did a bit of research to figure out what this was all about. But if I'm being honest, I still don't know 100% what it's all about, so I'm just going to do my best to try and explain it to you. So the Loyalist Volunteer Force is a small Loyalist paramilitary group in Northern Ireland that was formed in 1996 by a man named Billy Wright, when he split from the Ulster Volunteer Force. So basically, these Loyalist paramilitary groups were vigilante groups that were formed originally in 1912 to stop the British government from granting self-rule to Ireland, or to exclude Ulster from it. Again, I am so sorry if I am pronouncing the names of all these towns wrong. They have fought against several groups throughout history, including the Irish Republicanism. Many of their killings included Irish Catholic civilians who they had claimed were helping the Irish Republican Army. Then we have the Red Hand Commando, which is basically just a small, very secretive Ulster Loyalist paramilitary group that is closely linked to the UVF. It's named after the Red Hand of Ulster, who has a motto of Red Hand to Victory. They are involved in the same beliefs and practices as the UVF, and it is believed that they have let the UVF take credit for assassinations that they have committed. These paramilitary groups are currently listed as terrorist organizations, though they are still very active to this day, and we will learn more about their involvement with Lisa's case throughout the video. This is a very brief summary of these groups, and again, I still feel like I don't have a firm grasp of them completely. So if you are interested in learning more, just do a quick Google search for these different organizations and you'll find a ton of information about these groups. Or if you are from Northern Ireland and you know a lot about these groups, please feel free to comment below and give us all the information that you know. Okay, so like I had said, there have been several walls that were covered in graffiti of the LVF taking responsibility for Lisa's murder. It came out that the members of the UVF and the Red Hand Commando had been doing their own investigation into Lisa's murder at the same time as the police's investigation. They definitely believed that the LVF was responsible. The UVF was enemies of the LVF since the LVF had separated themselves from them, like I mentioned. The UVF had interrogated 2 teens that were known to have been involved in the LVF to see if they could get any information out of them. David Irvine, the then leader of the Progressive Unionist Party, which was close to the UVF, also believed that the LVF was involved. He said, quote, "I mean, the smart money says that it's a very tiny number of people, and if you push them hard enough, people will name them to you. So names are being bandied about. Let's not kid ourselves." So Lisa's mother had said that she was willing to speak to the loyalist paramilitary groups about her daughter, but she said that she didn't want any retaliation or comeback. However, at this point, the police had said that this type of speculation was not helpful to the investigation. None of these organizations had any legal backing or any actual authority to investigate a crime. They believed that them claiming to be responsible was preventing people from coming forward with information for fear of being harmed. By the end of April, there was still absolutely no sign of Lisa, and the family was desperate for any clues. They put out a £10,000 reward for any information leading to the recovery of Lisa's body because, again, at this point, they were going off of the assumption that she had likely been killed. They just wanted the chance to bring her home and give her the proper burial. So as the investigation was going on, police started to suspect that Lisa's body was hidden in the water around the Ards Peninsula. So police came to the media to speak to the public and ask anyone to come forward if they were a boat owner, if they had suspected that their boat had been tampered with at around the time that Lisa went missing. They had also asked that anyone...
Oh, there's a lot to this case. There is a lot to this case. Obviously, Irish group involved and say that they obviously had something to do with it. Sometimes you don't know what to believe. Is it just to cover or basically just to put them out there, their name out there? You know, sometimes groups and people do things for attention.
Who had privately bought or sold a boat since the beginning of February of that year to come forward. However, as far as I've seen, nothing actually really came of this. Years had passed with no leads, but the investigation into her murder continued. By October of 2012, police searched an area of farmland near Comber County Down to see if they could find a vehicle that is thought to have been used in the murder. They searched the area using new forensic technology that they had said hadn't been available when she initially went missing, but again, as far as I know, nothing came of this. Once again, the investigation was at a standstill, and everyone was pretty much losing all hope. But then, on June 28th, 2015, a convicted murderer claimed that he actually knew what happened to Lisa. So a man named Jimmy Seals came forward to a newspaper called The Sunday Life, saying that Lisa had been killed and buried in a sealed container on an illegal landfill site near Ballywaggon County Down. Again,
why would he say this? This is just off key. So many theories. It's just unbelievable. Why would he say this? That's mad.
This is one of those things that I saw in a few articles, but found absolutely no further information on, which is really weird that this was just kind of breezed over. But because I only saw it mentioned, I didn't really see anyone go into much further detail. I want to assume that police probably looked into this and found that Jimmy Seals probably was not being truthful or, did not find him to be responsible. Otherwise, we obviously still wouldn't be searching and investigating. After this, there had been several more searches throughout the years, with the most recent one being in 2019, but to this day, nothing has been found. One of the most tragic aspects to this case is that in late December of 2015, just after Christmas, Lisa's mother, Pat, had actually died from a massive heart attack. Lisa's sister said, quote, "There was no joy left in my mom's life anymore. She loved us and she loved her grandchildren, but there was no real happiness because she knew she'd never see Lisa again. My mom literally died of a broken heart."
Wow. I did do a video a couple of days ago on this and heard that obviously the young lady's mum had died, which was just awful. And like I said, thinking and putting so much effort into, trying to find justice for Lisa is just out of order. It really, really is, how time could go by and it still hurts every day as a mother and a father,
Whoever made sure Lisa disappeared broke my mother's heart and killed my mother too. They took Lisa from us, and finally, they took my mom from us. So now let's get into some of the main theories in this case. After 15 years of absolutely no answers, police have one suspect in mind. They believe that this person had strangled Lisa in the caravan and then recruited a close relative to help dump her body. They believe that this person was someone that Lisa had owed money to in relation to drugs. Many people believe that this person is also part of the UVF. Many people believe that the UVF coming out and trying to do their own investigation was a way to distract attention away from them, when in reality, it was one of their men who was responsible. The Sunday Life had been investigating into the UVF's involvement with Lisa's murder, and they believe that for the past 3 years that Lisa's murderer had been protected by the UVF because he is the son of a member of the Red Hand Commando who also has a child with the sister of a UVF boss. They said that the UVF knows very well.
There could be a possibility. Like I said, they are really, really important people involved. And there's a possibility why that body hasn't been found, because of the, how can I put it? These big political people involved in this case. It would make a little bit of sense
what he did to Lisa, but say that they don't really do anything about it, and had even given this man a job at a UVF taxi firm, which involved him taking vulnerable women home at night. The UVF's leader, Bunter Graham, came out with a statement telling the UVF to stop protecting this person. He said that he didn't know about them protecting this individual, and he wants to distance them from the murderer. So I don't know a lot about politics over in Northern Ireland, but this seems to be a pretty hefty accusation that does seem to have some backing. But aside from that, I do want to go ahead and talk about other people who could be involved. The main person believed to be involved is Mark Levette. He was the last person who had seen her alive.
There you go. This is my thoughts. The last person to see her alive. I always go back to, when you look at cases, someone always knows something. If I was out, with a friend and left them with someone at the end of the day, I would know exactly what time it was, because I'm one of those. I like to look after my friends when we go out and make sure they get home or get a taxi, or if my girlfriend's out and out with friends, I make sure they're all right and where they are. So if I've got to pick them up, I tend to know where to go.
And has not spoken to police or Lisa's family about what had happened to her after the initial interview. For the past 15 years, he had not broken his silence. Plus, his story from the very beginning seemed very suspect. I will also mention that after her disappearance, he has been convicted of possessing offensive weapons and drugs. So at the very least, we know that he's not totally innocent of any crimes. So to me, that seems like the main person whose name has been brought up in pretty much every article that I have read in connection to being responsible. But I will mention that there are a few other names that have been brought up, as possible suspects in the investigation. So a convicted drug dealer named Mark Smith was named in graffiti as being responsible for the murder. I'm not sure whether this was the LVF graffiti that I had mentioned. I think that it probably was, but again, I'm not totally sure. But either way, when questioned, he said that he was not responsible, and he actually did take a polygraph test that was administered by the Sunday Life newspaper, and he passed. I'm not sure what other connection he had to Lisa, whether he was known to be friends with her or provide drugs to her, but this name was one that popped up a lot in the investigation. Obviously, we know that polygraph tests are not the most accurate, but this is all the information that we have, so that's all I really can say about him. Another individual that police had looked into was a woman named Naomi Drysdale, who I had mentioned at the beginning of the video. She was known to have been partying with Lisa the evening before she went missing, and Mark Lovett had actually spent the night at her house that same night. However, she was not at the caravan party, and after questioning, police released her and did not see her as a suspect. I personally think that Mark Lovett must know a lot more than what he has.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. As soon as I read the newspaper report on it and the comments, what people were saying, and they think that Mark Smith should tell the family what he knows, and he's never done that. So that tells me he must be protecting somebody if he had nothing to do with her disappearance.
Said. I feel like if he was just this innocent guy who was with her right before she went missing, that he would have said something by now. I feel like the only reason to be silent for 15 years is if you are afraid that you will say something wrong and incriminate yourself. If his story is exactly how he said it is, wouldn't he feel at least a little bit guilty? I mean, if he were innocent and his friend who he was hanging out with went missing right after the two were together, I feel like he would at least feel guilty enough to want to do whatever he could to find her. I know that if I had a friend, even if it was a friend that I didn't know too well, or maybe didn't even get along with that well, that went missing right after I was with them, especially if it was just the two of us, I would feel horrible. Even if I had absolutely nothing to do with the disappearance, even if I didn't know anything, even if, I had no involvement whatsoever, I would still want to do whatever I could to find that person, because that's what friends do. And then there's also that added level of, survivor's guilt for feeling bad that something happened to your friend. A lot of people strongly believe that whoever is responsible has a connection to the UVL. I have no idea if Mark is connected to them whatsoever. I hadn't seen any articles that had mentioned.
It doesn't matter whether he was connected to them or not. I think what it boils down to is that he knows what's happened to her, but he's afraid to drop people in it that may cost his life, I think. And like I said, it could well be political. This is why the body was never found, I think.
But just the fact that he was so silent for all these years is very suspicious to me. And whether he's involved in the UVL or not, I still want to believe that he could be involved, just given the sheer fact of how suspicious he's looked. And again, I don't know a lot about politics, but if it's anything like US politics, it's always possible that they just pin this on a certain party to push their agenda or do whatever they wanted to do at that time. I really don't know what to think, but whatever happened, I do think that it was something drug related and money related. Police had come out and said that they definitely believe it has something to do with her owing someone money. So because of that, I do think that it definitely has something to do with that. At the end of the day, Lisa's family is still suffering. They've had to live every single day for the past 15 years not knowing where she is, or what happened to her, or who's responsible. Police have said that they pretty much know who did it. The family says that they know, but they haven't said it publicly. Either way, they are still fighting for Lisa and other victims as well. They have been campaigning in support for a new proposed law called Charlotte's Law that would keep convicted killers in prison until they revealed the location of a victim's body. Now, to me, I think that convicted killers should never leave jail anyways, but this can at least give families of victims hope that they can convince killers to share the locations of their victim's body to give the family some closure. The family said, quote, "We are now focusing on getting justice for Lisa. When we get a guilty verdict from the jury, we will make sure that this law is in place so that you are never released from prison until you tell us where Lisa is. If you won't think of Lisa, think of yourself. A lifetime in jail versus telling us where Lisa is now. That is your choice." Lisa did not deserve to have her life taken away from her the way that it most likely.
25 years of age as well, still living a young life. It sounds like to me she was in the wrong place at the wrong time and got involved with people. When she split with her ex-boyfriend, she got involved with people that were into rugs and liked to party, and some of them weren't loyal friends. You can see that from a mile off.
Was. She had the personality and the drive to make something amazing of herself, and a family who would back her in whatever life choices she made. But because she got involved in the wrong group of friends who clearly didn't care about her,
definitely
made some wrong choices, she had to pay with her life, which is absolutely heartbreaking. So that is all I have for today's video. Thank you for listening to Lisa's story. And all I can hope for this video is that I can point enough attention towards her case that it will put pressure on whoever is responsible to come forward with what they know.
That was Rachel Shannon, True Crime. Do go and subscribe to her. And what happened to Lisa Dorian. Thank you very much. Let me know what you think, people, because like I said, the 20th anniversary has just passed, so I thought I'll just put this case out there because it's very, very important for the family to get the truth. And it's so sad about Lisa Dorian's mother dying some years ago now. Bless her. Thank you for your support, people. Appreciate you. We'll do some more videos on this as well.